You're listening to DraftKings Network.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing, but an often overlooked secret is the businesses behind the business making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret with Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less cards going abandoned and way more sales going... So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skim uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard. All lowercase, BATARD. Go to shopify.com/Batard to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Batard. Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB de CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
I am made deeply happy as I see this face in his new studios at the top of his new business empire. Domonique Foxworth is a man that I admire for many different reasons. And a lot of people admire him because, you know, great football player and Harvard Business School and financial whiz who has had great power in the NFL. But one of the reasons that is at the very top for me is that he tackles the hardest things just because. And so he decided to become a screenwriter. He decided just on the side that he was going to do American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. He was a staff writer. It begins Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on FX is the 2-hour premiere. He's also got the Domonique Foxworth show, and you should know that that is absolutely worth listening to. He's becoming uncomfortable with how much I'm
He's also spectacular at receiving compliments.
Yeah,
it's
he's got some damn good looks as well.
He's a Hall of Famer at receiving compliments.
Yeah, no doubt.
No one's enjoying this, guys. Like, the listeners aren't, the viewers aren't, I'm not, you're not. I mean, we had a football weekend, fellas.
Well, it was kind of a shitty football professional weekend. And I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that I find super interesting always about sports is how bigger, stronger, faster, and survival of the fittest evolves. And clearly the defenses are better at making Patrick Mahomes and others throw for 150 yards. They're making offense harder to come by, even though all the rules are set up to favor the offense. What is happening, Domonique, there strategically, that the games yesterday are 7 field goals from the Commanders and the Steelers are 2-0 with their backup quarterback on the road because Atlanta and Denver can't do anything against them?
Yeah, I feel like we've been seeing this evolution kind of take its time, and we finally gotten to a point where it's kind of all coming to a head. But I feel like the rules changed. And around the time I was in the league, towards my time out, the rules started to change. The offenses started to get more sophisticated. And now the defense is caught up. And I think the bodies on the defense have caught up in ways that have made it easier for teams to run the ball, but a lot more difficult for them to pass the ball. And the schemes have kind of caught up with a lot of the simulated pressures. And we saw Spags doing some interesting stuff. Because if you think about from the quarterback standpoint and offensive standpoint, when a blitz is coming, you're normally looking for like a topper, someone to replace this person in a blitz. So a safety will go over top of the nickel if he's going to blitz. And Spags has done this thing where he does this really huge rotation. He's not the only one in Kansas City, but lots of teams have done this where they do this rotation in the secondary where the blitz comes from somewhere where you don't expect it because there's no tails in it. And you see that with the simulated pressures where a quarterback will feel like he's getting blitzed because they're sending a linebacker or a secondary player, but they're dropping other people out on the other side and end up with the quarterback and the offense reacting as if they're getting blitzed, but the defense still having 7 or 8 guys back in coverage. So I think it's just taking time. We've evolved to a point where the defense has generated an advantage, and now the offense will at some point, and then we'll keep doing this. That's one of the best things about football.
Am I wrong in thinking that the Jags shouldn't have given that money to Trevor Lawrence? He had 16 yards in the third quarter yesterday passing, but not in the third quarter. I tuned into the game in the third quarter, and he had thrown for 16 total yards.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't say that they shouldn't have given the money. Trevor Lawrence is an incredible talent, which is always enticing and really hard to find. And when you watch any of his games, you could clip out 5 to 6 plays, and it feels like even some of his worst games that just look like he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. The problem is the consistency throughout a game or throughout an entire season. He hasn't been able to establish that. And up until now, we've been kind of excusing it with coaching issues or receiver drops. But at a certain point, I think we all just have to accept that something's wrong there. And no matter who they bring into coach or the receivers that they bring in, and maybe things will change with Brian Thomas because he's a really impressive young receiver. But it seems like Trevor Lawrence kind of does this hero ball thing as if he's at Clemson at a certain point in the game. And he hasn't gotten to the point where he's comfortable with taking the incomplete pass and moving on and trying to play within structure and only being a hero when you have to be a hero. That's kind of what Josh Allen has struggled with. But the problem with comparing those two is Josh Allen's ceiling is so much higher than Trevor Lawrence has been that he can endure some of the negative plays that Trevor Lawrence hasn't been able to.
Domonique, how many of the other paid quarterbacks, you talk about consistency. The reason I get frustrated with Trevor Lawrence is because every game I'm watching 4 throws that every other quarterback in the league makes, and he's missing them by a lot. And so you're talking about consistency. I don't know how correctable that is because it's every game I'm seeing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, we end up focusing in and highlighting those things, and we kind of rewrite or revise our history of a specific game based on like who won or lost. And I think Trevor Lawrence has been on the wrong side of a lot of those games, and he's had enough issues that you can point to him and say it's his fault. But there have been enough problems. Like last year, I think they kind of set a record for number of dropped touchdown passes. So I think that's the problem with Trevor Lawrence is it's the evaluation has never been completely clear. And I think the final thing we can kind of establish is that he's not a top tier guy. Even though he has the top tier ability, he's not that guy. But he's certainly not bad enough that if I was the Jaguars, I'd let him go and go back into the market. Yeah, I'm just risk averse in that way. My reaction, and I think Mike Ryan might have made fun of me a long time ago because I told the Browns to pay Baker Mayfield. So like I always think that if you got a quarterback that's okay, you keep him because I'm scared of what you might end up with.
If you're Shad Khan and Bill Belichick calls you today, what do you do, Domonique?
You hang up the phone and get back to work. I don't know. Like there's not time to bail already. And the Bill Belichick's value to a team, I don't know, is about quarterback development. And I guess maybe you could argue that he could help Trevor Lawrence mature to a point where he doesn't have to make all these big plays. But Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind, and I don't think it's time to move on. Are you going to do that with every team every week? That's the move.
Yeah, that's the joke. Yes, that's the joke. Yeah. Dallas would be the strong pick today. Dallas, like that. That one makes a lot of sense.
Maybe
Dallas.
Baltimore. I mean, Cincinnati.
Maybe Baltimore.
Enough of John Harbaugh. Someone win with Lamar Jackson. It hasn't been John Harbaugh. I mean, you have a 2-time MVP, and Harbs has done nothing with Lamar Jackson.
There are some numbers.
Belichick would win 10 Super Bowls with that guy.
There are some numbers with Baltimore. Baltimore loses more 10-point leads in the fourth quarter than any team in the league. Lamar, this is the first time they're 0-2 since 2015, Stugotz. This is the first time a reigning MVP is 0-2, since it's been like 22 years since a reigning MVP started 0-2. That organization does not start 0-2. That was a weird one to lose to the motorcycle gang of Minshew and Crosby.
Yeah, they lost to Minshew last year when he was a quarterback of the Colts. Another one. Like it feels like a thing that shouldn't be for the Ravens, but they are the team that gives up these inexplicable late game losses. They did it multiple times last year. And you think that a team that runs the ball as well as they can and plays defense as well as they do should be able to put games away. But they've never been able to do that in recent Lamar Jackson history, which it feels really inexplicable. The game yesterday was a lot about penalties in the interior of the Ravens offensive line not being able to hold up. And Lamar Jackson brings out his heroics every now and then, but it wasn't enough in this game.
Stugotz, you're firing Harbaugh. That is the first time in 3 years that Lamar Jackson has lost back-to-back games. It's the first time in 3 years.
Domonique, are the Saints an actual good team? How do you explain the way the Cowboys lost on a day when Dak throws for almost 300 yards at home?
I think the explanation for the Cowboys' loss is kind of tied in with the explanation in the maturation of modern offenses. Modern defenses, is the Cowboys are built to be a team that is out there to stop the pass, and they can't stop the run. And that's one of the fundamental things about football. And I think more teams will start to kind of pivot towards that. We get smaller, more athletic bodies out there, and they've had some issues with the nose tackle position, or I guess the defensive tackle position, and they've tried to address them. But I think this team wants to be and plays best with a lead. And that's how they're built. And if you get a big lead out against them, they're going to kind of wither. And that's been consistently what's happened to them last year, how they lost the games they lost last year, and how they ended their season last year and their regular season game losses last year. In this game, it was the same situation. They get behind early. They have one outstanding playmaker in CeeDee Lamb. They don't run the ball particularly well, and they can't stop the other team from running the ball that well. You can't win in the NFL. Forget the NFL. You can't win in any sport if you can't run the ball and you can't stop the run. Any league, not any sport. I guess if you can't run the ball, you could probably do pretty well in basketball, right?
Stugotz has just handed me a note that Adam Schefter is reporting that Pacheco is out on injured reserve, fibula, at least 4 weeks. Yesterday during the game, and some of these guys came back, but there was literally a 3-minute period, I'm not kidding, where
everyone got hurt?
Well, it's Justin Herbert's in a tent. Justin Jefferson is limping back to the locker room.
Kittle.
Nick Bosa is out, and Kittle was just cramps. It is week 2. And the Jets play 3 times in 11 days.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm on this Miami show where, injury is not a conversation that anybody wants to have in Miami, particularly with that quarterback. But, are we surprised? Football and MMA, these are the sports where it's this is going to happen. And we've all come to grips with it. We've accepted it. It is what it is. We're going to go tell a bunch of personal stories next week about how much we love everybody. We want them to be healthy, and we wish the game wasn't violent. But we're going to watch this all over again next weekend.
Well, I have a theory here I want to run by you, Dom, because I really haven't seen the outpouring that I saw for Tua from former players or a current coach before. And my theory is that the way that Tua is being concussed has the feeling of a helpless infant in it when you look at what is happening with his hands. And so you get Antonio Pierce. Now, again, he coaches a motorcycle gang, a historic motorcycle gang. Crosby, that human being would be scary anywhere in the earth he were roaming, okay? And here's Antonio Pierce saying, unbelievably, I thought, a very tough football player, Tua needs to retire now.
I'll be honest, I'll just tell him to retire. It's not worth it. It's not worth to play the game. I haven't witnessed anything like I've seen that's happened to him 3 times. Scary. You can see right away the players' faces on the field. You can see the sense of urgency from everybody to get Tua help. I just think at some point, he's going to live longer and he's going to play football. Take care of your family.
Stunned. I was really stunned to hear an active coach say that, Dom. It's not something I've seen before.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. And it's a lot easier to say that when your livelihood is not tied up in it. I'm sure Mike McDaniel is probably listening to that like, man, mind your business. I need that quarterback. But I do think that it's the shocking part. And I think one of the more difficult things for me when I hear these conversations is we actually don't know if it's the major concussion hits or just the accumulation of subconcussive episodes that leads to the long-term health impact. So while the Tua stuff is shocking and it's obviously not healthy for him, there are a lot of other players who are doing things every weekend that are just less egregious, that particularly on the offensive line, where every offensive defensive line, every single play, they're banging heads. And it's going to take a toll on them through the course of their careers. And there are I guess we have better ways to identify the issues that players have had, and we've taken measures to adjust the game and adjust the practices to try to help out the long-term prospects for all of the players' health. But we won't know about how this is working for 10, 20, 30 years to see the impact on those players. So, I mean, obviously, the reaction for everyone is to be as cautious as possible with someone else's life and career, but we're not in that situation. We're not that player. We're not that person.
But how do you feel about the instant admonishing that he should retire from people who really have no solid opinion? They're not.
You've got strong opinions on this.
Well,
I can feel the indignance rising up in you.
Well, his opinion is people should stop giving their opinion on whether or not a man should retire.
Stop telling Greg Cody's beloved quarterback and the only hope he's had at the position in 25 years to retire. He's a homer,
I would say
and he wants him to keep playing.
I would say this on behalf of any concussed quarterback in the entire league. Shut the bleep up and let the man make his own decision about his own career and future. Let Tua and his family and his trusted doctors in a room make that decision. Another NFL coach should not be speaking about what another team's quarterback should or shouldn't do with his life. I'm just curious how you feel about that. I thought it was awful of Antonio Pierce to go on the record saying another team's quarterback should retire. Just unspeakably bad.
Yeah, I don't love one team's coach speaking on another team's quarterback, but I think we are going to speculate. Like, it's going to happen, and no one is actually going to force the hand of Tua. Yeah, people are going to say that he should retire. I don't have a problem with that. If that's what you think you're doing, if you think that you're trying to protect someone, I don't have a problem with that. No one's actually stopping him from making a decision. The question that popped up in my head when he had another one of these big prime time, like, isolated and ugly concussions was, what is the league going to do? Like, are they going to make a call? Are they going to step in? Because the real fear, let's be honest, I don't think anyone is actually super concerned about Tua's long-term prospects. Like, I think him and his family are concerned about it. I'm not sure that any of us on the outside, I think we say we are, but our behavior has suggested that we aren't actually, considering what we know about this game and other players. However,
you're just saying liability. You're just talking about liability now.
Yeah, I mean, not even liability as much as it is what happens on the field. I think that is the thing that we all want to avoid, whether we're being completely honest about it or not. I don't think all of us are worried about how Tua is going to feel 30 years from now. I think more of us are worried about what's going to happen on the field if this keeps happening to him on the field. Like, I think that's what scares us more than anything else, because a slow deterioration into some sort of CTE effects is not, I mean, it's proven to us that that's not something that's going to get an actual reaction out of us. Something like on the field, what happened with Damar Hamlin and what happened with Tua, like, that's what gets us upset. That's what makes us uncomfortable when it's slammed in our face how brutal this game can be.
I think what Greg's trying to get to and Domonique is tiptoeing around is they are afraid of what's going to happen on the field when this team gets rolling. They have Odell, who hasn't played yet. They finally have Tua with a contract. They have Jonnu Smith now in the mix. Right. They're afraid of the Dolphins and Tua getting things going, so they're trying to force him out of the league, and it's despicable. Yeah. Right, Greg?
Mm-hmm. I love Billy.
Yes, Billy. Thank you for the support.
Domonique Foxworth has, as I mentioned, American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. It is streaming on Hulu, new episodes every Tuesday. What are you making faces for?
I mean, that's why I was here to promote the show. I worked so hard on you, pretend like you were proud of it, and then you started talking about football.
We didn't ask you a single question about it. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yep.
It's a little early for murder, though. Right?
All right. You know what, Dom? We're going to stay there, and we're going to come back and talk about murder with you on a Monday morning. We're going to come back. You're coming back next.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing, but an often overlooked secret is the businesses behind the business making selling simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less cards going abandoned and way more sales going So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell. Wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skim uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Batard. All lowercase, BATARD. Go to shopify.com/Batard to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Batard.
Don Le Batard.
You have some hot takes today. Joe Chestnut's a fraud.
Oh, he's on fire.
He called Connor McDavid overrated before the show.
What the hell was that, Greg?
Yeah, no,
I love it.
Stugotz.
Roy, let me explain it to you. And not that you you know more about hockey.
And this
than
is
I do.
coming from a guy that's watched Connor play 6 times.
Right.
If that.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
He's a super unusual person. Like, usually you have success in the things that you have success in, and most people don't then decide, I'm going to take up writing for fun. But
well, thank you.
He has, yes, Stugotz has also done that. StugotzBook.com is where you go if you want the Stugotz book. But Domonique Foxworth has this new show. Why and how were you lured to it? Because you didn't begin as a staff writer, right? Originally, they were just talking to you because they wanted your football expertise as a consultant, right?
Right. No, I've always liked writing, as I've told you before. My rookie year in the league, I wrote a weekly journal for the Denver Post. And when I retired, like, it was, I think a lot of us have these kind of secret aspirations that are really kind of grandiose. And I wanted to be a screenwriter. And fortunately, I got this opportunity. They called me and asked me if I wanted to be a consulting producer. And so after a week in the writer's room, I made enough contributions that they promoted me to staff writer, which is a pretty bottom of the rung kind of job. But it was really fun experience. And COVID stunk. But one of the good things of COVID was all the writer room were in Zoom. So I could be in a LA and a New York writer's room without having to leave my house.
One of the things that can sink these things, no matter how good the writing, Winning Time worked, at least in part, because the casting was extraordinary. And the Clipper show on Hulu didn't even get started because people were just immediately making fun of the casting. So I want to show you some photos here from Instagram. The actor Norbert Leo Butts plays Belichick. He is here with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez and Brady. I want for you to give us a grade on the casting here of all of these people, because Aaron Hernandez looks kind of small.
A+, A+, A+. Yeah. The grading on all of that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's impossible. It's hard to find actors who are the size of NFL players. Fortunately, I think Gronk's character, the actor who played Gronk, I think he is Gronk's body double in like commercials and stuff like that. So he's almost perfect. But I mean, it's difficult. I think when you get a chance to watch it, which David Sampson texts me almost daily about how amazing it is and how much he enjoys it, you'll get pulled in. I think it's hard to do with just a photograph and make you feel great about the casting, but you'll get pulled in and accept that these characters are different, but the story is very similar.
Patrick Schwarzenegger, son of Arnold, plays Tim Tebow. Your thoughts here on, I'm just going to keep doing casting with you. Your thoughts here on Tebow.
Perfection. So like the process of making a show like this, and one of the things that I learned is how heavily involved you are and how little control you have. So Stu Zickerman, the showrunner, was obviously involved from the beginning to the end of this process, but we write the scripts and then we send them to Stu, and then Stu reworks the scripts, then he sends them back to us and we rewrite them. And before all of that, we spend months like thinking about themes and events and ideas that we want to imbue into the script. And we do all that, and that's just like the first quarter of the process. Then there's the casting, then directing, then the acting, and all that stuff that goes into it. And by the time the final product is produced, it feels like what you had in your mind, but it's also very different from what you had in your mind.
Let's see Wes Welker here. Let's see Wes.
Now finish.
Let's
what does Wes Welker look like?
Let's see Wes.
Land a plane with a great joke. Planes come in, you ruined it.
There's Wes.
That looks like AI.
There's Wes Welker.
It's a flattering hire for Wes.
Let's see Vince Wilfork. Let's see Vince Wilfork here. What do you think of Vince Wilfork here? That looks more like Kimbo Slice.
I think that looks like a man who you would probably embarrass yourself in front of because you did not keep up with his marital status.
Let's see Urban Meyer here. I want to see Urban Meyer here and get Dominique's. This is a very young. This is what Urban Meyer thinks he looks like. Just like Will Levis thinks he's Josh Allen. This is what Urban Meyer on the inside when he's in an Ohio State bar.
That's Urban Meyer.
That is.
Well, it's supposed to be. It does look like Urban Meyer from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
that's Kevin Burkhardt.
Younger. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while though. It's weird. Yeah.
Wait till you watch it. Watch it, and then come back with all these criticisms and critiques. Those are perfect casts. I mean, it's Hollywood. You think you want me to go find ugly people? No, we're going to find attractive versions of these athletes. You're welcome.
How many episodes we talking here?
Yeah, I mean,
just watch the first one. Just watch the first one. That's all I ask of you. Watch the first one, maybe the second one. Yeah, the first and second come out at the same time. Watch both of those. If you don't want to watch it anymore, don't watch it.
Billy's busy watching Secret Lives of Mormon wives.
Mormon, yeah. Well, that's a good one.
There's no competition. I think those are different things. That's like a meal versus dessert. Like I don't want to replace that. That feels like a dessert show. But when you want some substance, something substantial, give us a shot. If you like it, keep watching. If you don't, I had nothing to do with it.
Did you write a cameo role for yourself?
Ooh, good question.
And if not, why not?
Why not?
That's what Cody would do.
That's part of being in the writer's room. I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, my goal was to be a writer, not to like parlay this into some sort of performance, but also I mentioned before, we do a lot of work, but the final decisions aren't up to me. I did try, I lobbied to get some cameos for Mina and Pablo, but that got vetoed. I was like, Pablo could be like a college professor or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of like a forced scene where they're like, let's check in with Domonique Foxworth and see what he thinks of this Aaron Hernandez situation. And they just like cut to a clip where it's like an actor playing you, like talking to a reporter.
I never played against Aaron Hernandez because I was definitely arguing for like some game. Let's fabricate, because everything in the show is not like completely true. It's supposed to be like close to get the spirit of the events. Let's fabricate a little interception. Let's fabricate a little week 2 turnover thrown to Domonique Foxworth for return for a touchdown. Maybe 2-pick game.
Did he do it?
No. And no one cares about what I want to do. Oh, you're talking about the. Yeah. I thought you were talking about this dude.
Quick no.
I already
big twist there.
I already sent that to awful announcing.
You gotta wait and see. I don't want to do you a spoil. I did a show with Pablo about this, and Pablo is just on his show. He's just out here spoiling our show throughout the entire Pablo Torre finds out.
American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. New episodes air every Tuesday, beginning this Tuesday, and stream on Hulu. Always nice seeing you, Dom. Thank you for making the time, sir. Do you want to finish landing the plane now? I know you a little bit, so you're gonna deny me the pleasure of it as an act of defiance. But since you said you're a performer, if you can land the plane from here, I'd be impressed by however you did land the plane.
I don't need to impress you. I'm not here to perform for you, sir. I perform for you, sir. You ruined it. You stepped on it. I was building up, and I was getting people nice and low and lull them into a sense of confidence, and I had a big joke coming that no one's ever going to see because you got bored and decided to steamroll me and take over the mic. Maybe I'll keep talking until we go into the break. Maybe you can hard network out me in front of Cody. Maybe not.
Leave him there. He won't know that we're not listening to him. Just let him keep talking there with the sound down so that nobody reacts to him. What were you guys more impressed by yesterday in the first quarter? We've already said goodbye to you, Dominique. You can sit there for as long or as little as you want. In the first quarter yesterday, Aiden Hutchinson having 3 sacks in the first quarter, the first 11 minutes, or Marvin Harrison having 119 yards in the first 11 minutes receiving after having 4 yards on 1 catch and 1 target last week?
I would say Harrison with the first quarter and really first half that he had.
Hutchinson?
3 sacks?
I know Hutchinson's on pace for 40+ sacks this season.
Dude, Hutchinson had that game in a vice. That was so dominant.
Yeah.
Harrison still didn't look all that fast for a Maserati.
But that was impressive, man.
Yeah.
Marvin. Did you guys watch my show last week? I told you that Marvin Harrison was going to have this game because I know football. And guess what? He did it all in the first.
It's a shame we had to let him go.
How many shows does he want us to watch?
The Domonique Foxworth show is among the many that he is doing these days.
Stugotz, I'm not going to lie. My golf game, I've really been struggling with my irons recently.
Right. I struggle with that word.
Irons.
I can't say it.
Go ahead.
You're going to say it for me.
Try, let me hear
Iron.
Yeah, you can't.
say it. I'm telling you, I can't say it.
My iron game is always a work in progress.
Yeah, but you're a good golfer, man. You're telling me you got better?
I'm telling you, PXG is a game changer. Whether you're like me and you shoot low 80s, whether you're like Stugotz and you got a little bit of a higher score, you need to go to a PXG location, get yourself fitted, because these irons, I swear I've knocked 7 to 8 strokes off my game.
So I've been playing golf for a long time. I've never had a fitting done. I went to the PXG fitting. I went out to Weston Hills Country Club. Steve, the fitter, was out there. It took less than an hour. I brought out my old clubs. He said, "What are you doing with these things?"
Yeah.
He threw them in the garbage, and he started making my new clubs. And what I realized, Chris, and Steve is fantastic, and if I ever get another fitting, the only place I'm going to is PXG. What he told me was, your grips are too thin, the clubs are too long, gave me shorter clubs, gave me thicker grips, and I have taken 5 to 6 strokes off of my score.
PXG has multiple fitting locations in your area. You look up a location, you bring your clubs, you get fitted. Weeks later, you have brand new clubs, the best irons you've ever hit. The new Black Ops irons are game improvement missile launchers. They feature X-Core 2 technology. It's just a game changer.
They're incredibly easy to hit. They're incredibly affordable as well. They are only $149.99 a stick. How about that?
It's a great price.
Take the PXG
irons
challenge. It's a ton of fun. And if PXG's new Black Ops
irons
don't outperform your current
irons
by delivering either more distance or tighter dispersion during your fitting, you'll get a $100 MasterCard rewards card. Hurry. This offer ends October 7th. Book your fitting today at PXG.com. That's PXG.com. I can't say the word irons. See? That's why Chris said it.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves.
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it. So do it.
Definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Don Le Batard.
Is there back in my day?
There is, actually.
What? Were you not going to tell anyone?
What?
Wait a minute.
You guys, it's a Tuesday.
Stugotz. Here's your guy, Greg Cody, with Back in My Day.
Okay, here it is. Sorry. Adultery.
Yeah,
we
are
back.
That is waiting for this one.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I don't think that you can say that a team has looked more impressive than the Saints. The stat that I'm about to give you, I thought was staggering. Their first 15 possessions of this season, the Saints scored on all of them.
Crazy.
First 15 over 2 games, they got either a field goal or a touchdown. And Stugotz, they have scored in their last 3 games, 47, 47, and 44. That hasn't been done since the undefeated Patriots and then some team in 1940. But that team of Randy Moss and Tom Brady was the one that scored like that. There were a handful of surprising things yesterday. Obviously, the Raiders winning at Baltimore, and you had San Francisco losing at Minnesota.
Tampa Bay beating the Lions.
Yeah, big favorites losing at home. But there was nothing more surprising than the way the Saints won. It's not that they won necessarily as a 6-point dog. It's that they steamrolled a Dallas team that made Cleveland look totally inept.
NFL offenses, we've talked about it now for 2 weeks. They're kind of confusing us a little bit, but DraftKings Sportsbook put out an IG tile, and it was really confusing to me, and I'm wondering what you guys do with this. So far, Derek Carr is statistically the best passer in the league. Gardner Minshew has the highest completion percentage. The longest touchdown of the season was thrown by Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield is undefeated, just won at Detroit, and is just behind Derek Carr in terms of league passing. And Kyler Murray, another dude that someone wrote off, and he didn't write back. Kyler Murray just had a perfect passer rating game. So a lot of dudes that the NFL and its fan bases have kind of made up their minds about have really started this season hot.
And Geno Smith is no longer one of those dudes because he was one of the first to show us, oh, wait, you can reinvent yourself like Sam Darnold, even if you have multiple
You just have
stops.
to leave the Jets. Yeah.
We will get to the Jets in a second, Stugotz, because they have 3 games in 11 days. Like they now play on Thursday night. That's not good for the human body, obviously. But I thought Justin Jefferson, who had a 99-yard catch yesterday, and the Vikings having the confidence to have Darnold throw from his own end zone, and they don't care if Justin Jefferson is double covered. Jefferson was asked before the game, because San Francisco and the Jets had played the week before, if there was anything about how San Francisco played Garrett Wilson that would be instructive to him. And he did his move, our move, of respectfully saying something disrespectful.
So does watching how they defended Garrett Wilson help you at all as you prepare for this one?
Yeah and no. I mean, respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson. Our teams play me totally different.
Perfect. He's right.
Damn right he is.
That is as quick as you can be disrespectful after claiming at the top you were going to be respectful. That is that respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson is a great way to be arrogant in a way that is cool instead of off-putting. Because he just threw the respectfully at the top there.
Right. Knowing he was about to bring the disrespect. I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you feel about your Jets, Stugotz? Will Levis does think he's Josh Allen, correct? He thinks that he's had the 2 most disastrous turnovers of the entire season. And
yes.
you can't trust him at all, but he's never going to stop being confident.
Did you watch Callahan coming up to him after that most recent mistake?
Brilliant.
What the F are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, let's play the sound here of Callahan. I was just going to ask God Bless Football's Stugotz to name the coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Callahan.
God Bless Football. Every Monday morning, every Friday morning, Billy Gill, the 4th-ranked international football insider, he was pretty funny afterward, after this game, because we've gotten so used to one of the things that's happening. It's not just that defenses and athletes are evolving, Stugotz. It's also there has never been this much of a premium on don't turn the ball over. Like, it's always been a thing, but never the way it is now. And so when you see something that is intergalactically stupid done by your quarterback, you're stunned by it. And so was the Titans coach.
What did you say to Will on the fumble? I know you looked very upset on the sideline.
I think the camera caught it pretty clear, if I had to guess. So, yeah, I was upset. It was dumb. It was the same exact thing he did last week, and he cost us points in the red zone. And that is what it is. He's a grown-up, and he knows better. And so, I was really irritated that he cost us 3 points in a game that we probably needed it.
These Callahans got right to it, man. I mean,
great.
He's like, I thought it wasn't going to get better than it was dumb. But he's grown up. Like that's something a toddler would do. That is something a rebellious teen would do. That is not something that an adult professional would do in a professional setting where we all respect the Duke. The football is not something to be turned over. Are you guys in agreement with me, both of you, on the idea that the not turning the ball over is such a premium now that we're doomed to 18 to 13 games?
I don't know if we're doomed to it. I think not turning the ball over has always been important, probably more important than it's ever been, and it's why I thought Aaron Rodgers, people are saying the Jets, it felt like a loss after the game. Nah, it felt like a win. Aaron Rodgers did not turn the ball over, and Aaron Rodgers took them down on a drive in the 4th quarter where most Jet quarterbacks in the history of that organization can't get that done. Aaron Rodgers yesterday got it done on the road for the Jets, who go home now for 4 straight home games, and 3 of them are against bad teams. What Aaron did yesterday was he made big plays when he had to, and he did not turn the ball over. That's what he did.
I think the NFL has shown you over the last few years that you can do both, as everyone took a page out of Aaron Rodgers' playbook and said, no, we can throw the ball downfield, have good, impressive passing touchdown numbers, passing numbers, and still limit turnovers. The names that I just rattled off are all guys reputed to be turnover guys. Minshew, Murray, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I would like to see more teams taking risk and care less about turnovers, quite frankly, because I think there's a lot of reward, as we saw with Justin Jefferson, who might actually change Sam Darnold. That's a good way to help by just pushing the ball downfield.
Are you guys opposed to what I'm saying, that there were a whole lot of bad football games yesterday that I don't want to watch? Colts, Packers, Jets, Titans, I don't really want to watch. Seahawks, Pats, I know it's a close game. Not interested in thinking those teams are championship worthy. Giants, Commanders, Chargers, Panthers, Browns, Jags might have been interesting in a different incarnation. That one was hard to watch. Steelers, Broncos, not interested. But a couple of enormous upsets. So the most surprising from among these to you guys was which one? The way the Rams beat the Cardinals, the way the Saints beat the Cowboys, or the Bucs over the Lions, the Vikings over the 49ers, Chiefs Bengals gives you the punctuation to the day that makes you feel less gross at night, because I felt gross at the end of the night. You guys, the rest of you feel gross at the end of the weekend. Do you not, when you're this slovenly about watching 40 hours of football?
I always tell myself 72-hour fast begins Monday after a football Sunday.
Kicks in around 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock games, you still feel alive. 4 o'clock, you're just hanging on for dear life. I mean,
well, yesterday was, what was it, a decabox? 10 games in the 1 o'clock. Is that it was too much, Chris?
It was the busiest 1 o'clock window, according to Scott Hansen, of the season.
Even Scott was stressed out. Like, it was just too much.
Right.
Like, he was just like, there's this, there's that. Like, you could feel him being stressed. Like, 8's enough. I don't need more than the octobox. Once we get to 9 and 10, it's just too much.
Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Did Scott Hansen seem stressed out about the 10 games in the 1 o'clock window? Because I will say he got to breathe in the 4 o'clock hour, but it was too slow, and then he had to fill. Like, he had a bunch of things.
He wanted those games back.
They don't have commercials in the red zone. Which was the most surprising to you from among the results? Everything I gave you.
How could it not be the Saints beating Dallas and the way the Saints beat the Dallas?
Because I had the Raiders as being bad and Baltimore not being 0-2. That was the biggest dog of the weekend. It was a 9-point spread in that game.
That was the biggest surprise to me, was the Ravens falling to 0-2. They should have beaten Kansas City. They lost literally by a toe, length of a toe. But to lose that game yesterday, and they were ahead much of the game. That was brutal. And I'm not just saying that because I picked the Ravens to cover, and I'm really pissed off at that result.
I'm picking something else. I think you guys were bang on, but I'm just going to pick something else that also interested me, in that it appears like Baker and the Bucs wasn't a fluke last year, and it had all the makings of feeling like a fluke. And yet, you're going to make this mistake. You're going to pay this guy big time money. They go to the place that they lost in the playoffs last year, Detroit, who I think the odds have is a second favorite inside that conference. And despite Aiden Hutchinson being a demigod, they navigate it and they win that game and they control it mostly.
I wonder how this is going to go over in Detroit with expectations. I don't know if you guys saw the end of the first half, but the Lions, you never see this in pro football. You see it in college some, but in pro football, they do not mismanage the clock in a way that stays in bounds without timeouts, and then all of a sudden at the end of the half, you can't get your field goal team on the field and you just lose the points because you get a holding penalty. You thought you get the penalty that costs you points, and then obviously you lose by a margin. So many of these games are close. That's coaching that ends up being on.
Campbell took responsibility for it.
I know, and look, it's a penalty. It can happen to anybody, but your team needs to not be getting a penalty when it runs out of timeouts in a way that costs them 3 points. When there are suddenly expectations for the Lions, that I can say this, Stugotz, have never existed before.
No.
Not haven't existed this century. That team has never had the expectations it has this year. You know how laughable it is to hear Mike Ryan say they're second in the conference? Like, that team has never been any good. And yesterday they dump a game against a team that none of us think is championship worthy. You can underestimate or overestimate the Bucs. None of us think the Bucs are winning the Super Bowl.
I'm willing to listen now, considering the performance they just put up. I think we also have to start asking ourselves, was Tom Brady holding this team back?
Great question.
How was Brady yesterday? I didn't hear.
I saw he received general praise for improving week over week. That they said it was a pretty strong improvement.
So I think week one, what happened was the bar was set so high because he's Tom Brady, and it fell flat, and then the bar came back down, and Tom Brady exceeded it, right?
I think one of the things that's working against him, and we touched on it a little bit last week, is his voice.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
It's too high pitched.
Yeah, I think it'll take us a minute for that voice to be attached to what feels like a big game. Once you have him on important, meaningful moments, then you'll start saying, oh, he's on the call, it'll feel like a big game. Chris Fowler also kind of felt like this early on, where you just got used to a certain voice attached to big games, and it takes you a while, and you're probably a little too harsh in criticizing, and now you really can't imagine a big-time college football game without his voice attached to it. So it's just a matter of time.
Billy, God bless football today. You guys,
it's out now.
It's
Check it out
now.
Boom.
Tell me what's on there. Tell me what's worth hearing, because you get the hottest and the freshest.
All worth hearing.
It's all worth hearing. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Stugotz's fiery takes when he comes in here all fired up about everything that happened this weekend. What are the highlights?
Well, we have our winners and losers as we do every week. I have my Bid Loose Bets Big Boards brought to you by at the end of the show. Lucy joins us. We play some Lucy or Goosey. We have some top 5 lists. I also, and this wasn't a thing, this wasn't a segment, it was just a note kind of hidden in there. I had my eye on 2 different people.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's not a segment. It was just, in my notes I have here right in purple. Boom, I got my eye on this person. I got my eye on that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, color-coded notes.
What does that mean? Forgive me for my ignorance here, but Jason.
We're keeping an ongoing list. It's
I'm
Jason Sanders,
here.
Justin Tucker.
Jason Sanders, you've had an eye on. Okay, I'm sorry. You've already revealed that on the show before.
Well, no, Stugotz is here.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't give out the
Tucker's
third one
of them.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he's going to say is Travis Kelce's the other one. And then it's like, why even listen?
I didn't say that.
Well,
respect your own embargo.
I know. Listen,
Yeah,
I didn't give out the
man.
third
What are
one.
we
I
doing
stopped
here?
short. I mean,
Travis Kelce, 1 catch for 5 yards. When's it starting that, everything he's done this offseason is slowing him down? When that will start?
I think you just started it.
You just did it, right? And I warned him. I warned him of this last year. I was telling my friend Travis Kelce, this is what happens. People like Dan Lebitard, they come out and say Kelce is focused on the wrong things. It happens. I can't believe it.
You're too kind to partake in this engagement bait game, and you really shouldn't be so nice, because you put that on people. And that's your thought. You think that Travis Kelce needs to focus more on football.
No,
Come look into a camera and let's get some likes.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for you. But I was genuinely asking the question of whether this was happening or not.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, I was.
He's got it. He's doing a thing.
I was going to time it.
It's all right.
I was going to time it. I'm doing it for the camera.
Take 2.
He wants the clip.
Go ahead.
Before you do that, though, Dan, you asked what was going to happen on God Bless Football. We also talked about our God Bless Football Dan Lebitard Show Listener League presented by Smirnoff. Join GBF's weekly contest for a chance to compete against the cast, plus win cash prizes. DKNG.co/Smirnoff. Presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. How did I do? Great question. 5th place. Cash.
Yes.
I wish I was wearing a costume right now.
Why?
Taylor Swift and the Swifties have ruined Travis Kelce. He used to be one of the best tight ends in the history of the universe. And this season, because of all of the distractions involving commercials and fame and the Kelces getting gorging on the gluttony of celebrity, Jason did the right thing in retiring. Travis continues to play, but poorly because he's been wrecked by all the sugary fame around Taylor Swift.
Does that work, Mike? Or
I don't know.
No, I'm not going that far.
Priorities in order?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just worried about Dan for the rest of the week. But also, they may see through Dan's overt, really sad, desperate attempt for relevancy
clicks.
to grift off of her name.
Billy,
bad advice someone gave you.
Tell the
Worse
people
execution.
what you whispered in my ear that I thought went out on air.
Well, when you did that whole thing, I just whispered into your "I hate Taylor Swift" to see if you'd say it, but you didn't. Yeah, and then you thought that I said it.
No, but then
it was our little secret.
Yes.
But now you're telling everybody about our secret.
Stugotz here. The most important things in my life are my wife, my children, and of course, their safety. That's why I've had Simply Safe Home Security in my house for 7 years now. I want you to have the same peace of mind that I and so many listeners experience every day, which is why I partnered with Simply Safe to offer listeners 50% off a system. Just visit simplysafe.com/DLB to claim it. Whether it's setting the alarms before we all go to bed or setting that alarm before we go on another vacation, Simply Safe gives me amazing peace of mind. Simply Safe provides faster response for better protection with Fast Protect monitoring and Live Guard protection. Protect your home with Simply Safe right now. Batard Show listeners can get 50% off any new Simply Safe system, plus a free indoor security camera with Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/DLB to claim this offer. It's for a limited time only, so be sure to order today. That's simplysafe.com/DLB. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Próximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.